Caitlin Clark, Chloe Bibby are waiting for her at half court, and the cop tries to get Sophie Cunningham to move.
The WNBA just exposed themselves in the most embarrassing way possible, and Sophie Cunningham caught them red-handed. What started as Indiana Fever's historic playoff victory turned into a viral moment that has the entire league scrambling for damage control. A security guard decided to confront Sophie Cunningham, who was standing on crutches with a massive leg brace. And what happened next revealed everything wrong with how the WNBA treats certain players.
Sophie Cunningham was like, "You're not going to get me to move. I'm waiting for Odyssey." And you could see during the review, look at Sophie Cunningham clapping, not moving, waiting for her teammate. That's the Fever for you.
But before we dive into this shocking confrontation, make sure to hit that like button if you think Sophie deserves better treatment from the league. Picture this scene at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The Indiana Fever just pulled off an incredible playoff win against the Atlanta Dream. Fans are going wild, celebrating their first postseason victory in years. Players are embracing on the court, sharing this historic moment. Then out of nowhere, a WNBA security guard marches straight towards Sophie Cunningham, who's literally standing there in a bulky leg brace, unable to even walk properly, and starts getting in her face like she's some kind of threat. The cameras caught everything, and what Sophie did next sent shockwaves through social media. Sophie didn't back down 1 inch. She stood there with that signature Cunningham glare that could melt steel and stared down this security guard who was trying to intimidate her for absolutely no reason. She wasn't rushing the court, she wasn't causing problems, she was simply standing near midcourt checking on her injured teammate Odyssey Sims, who had just taken a hard fall. Any player in the league would have done the same thing, but apparently when Sophie Cunningham shows basic human concern for a teammate, she becomes public enemy number 1. But that wasn't the whole story, because what Sophie said during this confrontation is what really has everyone talking. According to multiple witnesses who were close enough to hear the exchange, Sophie looked this security guard dead in the eyes and said, quote, "You need to back up right now, I'm checking on my teammate," unquote. The guard reportedly tried to tell her she needed to move immediately, and Sophie's response was even more direct, quote, "I'm not going anywhere until I know she's okay. Try me," unquote. The confidence, the defiance, the absolute refusal to be bullied, it was pure Sophie Cunningham, and fans absolutely loved it. What happened next would shock everyone watching, because instead of the security guard backing off like any reasonable person would do, they actually doubled down and started getting even more aggressive. They leaned into Sophie's personal space, trying to use their authority to intimidate a player who was clearly injured and posed zero threat to anyone. The entire exchange lasted maybe 30 seconds, but those 30 seconds revealed everything about how the WNBA operates behind the scenes. Social media exploded within minutes of the incident. Clips of Sophie's stare down went viral faster than any highlight from the actual game. Hashtags like Justice for Sophie and WNBA Exposed started trending immediately. Fans from every team, not just Indiana, were calling out the blatant double standard. One viral tweet with over 50,000 likes said, quote, "If this was Angel Reese standing there, the security guard would have been fired on the spot. But because it's Sophie Cunningham, suddenly it's okay to harass injured players," unquote. The timing of this incident couldn't be more suspicious either. Just days before this confrontation, Sophie had been vocal on social media about the officiating in WNBA games, particularly how certain players seem to get preferential treatment, while others like herself and Caitlin Clark get targeted constantly. She'd posted several Instagram stories showing uncalled fouls and questionable referee decisions that mysteriously always seem to go against the same group of players. Then suddenly when she's injured and can't even play, she gets singled out by security for doing absolutely nothing wrong. Here's where things get really interesting, because this isn't Sophie's first rodeo with WNBA security and officials treating her differently. Earlier this season, during a game against the Las Vegas Aces, Sophie was literally bleeding from a cut on her face after taking an elbow that wasn't called a foul. When she approached the referee to ask why there was no call, security immediately stepped between them like she was about to start a fight. Meanwhile, we've all seen other players scream in referees' faces, throw tantrums, and even make contact with officials without security batting an eye. The pattern is becoming impossible to ignore, and fans are starting to connect the dots. Sophie Cunningham represents everything the WNBA claims they want more of. She's marketable, she's engaging with fans, she drives social media engagement, and she brings eyeballs to games. Her Instagram has over 200,000 followers, her TikTok clips get millions of views, and she's constantly trending on Twitter. Yet instead of protecting and promoting one of their most valuable assets, the league seems determined to make her the villain at every opportunity. What makes this even more outrageous is comparing it to how the league handled other recent incidents. Remember when Diana Taurasi got into a heated exchange with a fan earlier this season? The WNBA immediately launched an investigation into the fan release statements defending Taurasi and made sure everyone knew that protecting their players was the top priority. But when Sophie Cunningham gets harassed by the league's own security staff while injured and unable to defend herself physically, suddenly there's radio silence from the commissioner's office. The double standard becomes even more obvious when you look at how the Players Association has responded, or rather hasn't responded. When certain players face any kind of criticism or confrontation, the PA releases statements within hours defending them and demanding action. But Sophie Cunningham gets physically intimidated by security, and we get nothing but crickets. It's almost like there's an unwritten rule about which players deserve protection and which ones are on their own. But Sophie's response to all of this is exactly why her fanbase keeps growing exponentially. Instead of complaining to the media or posting emotional rants on social media, she simply posted a photo of herself from the game with the caption, quote, "standing up for what's right even on one leg," unquote. That post got over 100,000 likes in less than 2 hours, and the comments section was flooded with support from fans calling her a warrior and demanding the league apologize. What really exposed the WNBA, though, was what happened after the game. Multiple Indiana Fever players, including Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston, were asked about the incident during post-game interviews. Every single one of them defended Sophie without hesitation. Caitlin Clark's response was particularly powerful when she said, quote, "Sophie was doing exactly what any good teammate would do, checking on an injured player, and the fact that she got confronted for that while wearing a leg brace tells you everything you need to know about certain biases in this league," unquote. The league's response, or lack thereof, speaks volumes about their priorities. 24 hours after the incident went viral, still no statement from the commissioner, no apology to Sophie, no explanation for why their security staff felt empowered to harass an injured player. Meanwhile, if you go on the WNBA's official social media accounts, they're posting highlights and feel-good content like nothing happened, pretending that one of their most marketable stars didn't just get publicly disrespected by their own employees. Here's what makes this situation even more revealing about the WNBA's internal politics. Sources close to the situation have reported that several team executives from other franchises actually reached out to Indiana Fever management, expressing concern about how Sophie was treated. These executives reportedly said they were worried about the precedent this sets and how it might affect their own players. Yet despite this internal pressure, the league continues to stay silent, hoping the story will just go away. But the story isn't going away because fans won't let it. Every WNBA post on social media is now flooded with comments demanding justice for Sophie. The league posted a generic congratulations message to the Fever for their playoff win, and the top 50 comments were all about the security incident. They tried posting about other games and storylines, but fans kept bringing it back to Sophie. This is what happens when you try to sweep obvious injustice under the rug in the age of social media. The financial implications of this controversy are starting to become apparent too. Sophie Cunningham jersey sales have skyrocketed since the incident, with multiple retailers reporting they've sold out of her merchandise. Fever ticket sales for their next playoff game saw a massive spike, with many fans explicitly saying they're coming to support Sophie. The irony is that by trying to marginalize her, the WNBA has accidentally turned Sophie into an even bigger star and rallying point for fans who are tired of the double standards. What's particularly interesting is how this incident has united fan bases that usually don't get along. Indiana Fever fans, Phoenix Mercury fans, where Sophie used to play, and even fans of rival teams are all coming together to call out this injustice. When you have Las Vegas Aces fans and Indiana Fever fans agreeing on something, you know the league really messed up. This isn't about team loyalty anymore, it's about basic fairness and respect for players. The security guard involved in the incident has reportedly been identified by fans through social media sleuthing, though the WNBA refuses to confirm or deny their identity. What we do know is that this particular security staff member has been seen in multiple other controversial incidents, always seeming to target certain types of players. Fans have compiled video evidence showing this same guard getting aggressive with other players who share similar characteristics to Sophie while being completely hands-off with others. This pattern of selective enforcement extends beyond just security to the entire WNBA infrastructure. Referees who make questionable calls against players like Sophie and Caitlin Clark keep getting assigned to their biggest games. Media members who constantly criticize and undermine these players keep getting exclusive access and interviews. It's almost like there's a coordinated effort to control the narrative and marginalize players who don't fit a certain mold. But here's where Sophie and her supporters are winning the long game. Every time the WNBA tries to silence or marginalize her, she comes back stronger. Her social media following grows, her jersey sales increase, and her fan base becomes more passionate. She's become a symbol of resistance against unfair treatment, and fans love her for it. The league might control the officials and security, but they can't control public opinion. And public opinion is firmly on Sophie's side. The most recent development in this saga is that several prominent sports media personalities have started covering the story. Not just WNBA reporters, but mainstream sports journalists, who usually don't cover women's basketball, are talking about how badly the league handled this situation. When you have national media calling out your treatment of players, you know you have a serious problem that goes beyond just one incident. What makes Sophie's situation even more compelling is how she's handled everything with such class and strength. She hasn't hired lawyers, she hasn't demanded anyone be fired, she hasn't even asked for an apology. She's simply continued to support her team, show up for her teammates, and engage with fans who support her. That kind of dignity in the face of obvious mistreatment is exactly why people gravitate toward her. The ripple effects of this incident are already being felt throughout the league. Other players are starting to speak up about their own experiences with security and officials treating them unfairly. It's like Sophie's confrontation opened the floodgates, and now stories are pouring out about the systematic bias that exists within WNBA operations. This isn't just about one security guard and one player anymore. It's about an entire culture that needs to change. Looking at the bigger picture, this incident perfectly encapsulates why the WNBA struggles to grow despite having incredible talent and compelling storylines. Instead of embracing all their stars and letting personalities shine, they try to control and suppress certain players while elevating others. It's a recipe for stagnation and fan frustration. Sophie Cunningham should be one of the faces of the league, not someone security guards feel comfortable harassing. The question now becomes, what happens next? Will the WNBA finally address this incident and the larger issues it represents, or will they continue to ignore it and hope it goes away? Based on their track record, the smart money is on continued silence, but that might be a costly mistake. Fans have long memories, and they don't forget when their favorite players are mistreated. Every time Sophie takes the court next season, this incident will be remembered and discussed. If you think Sophie Cunningham deserves an apology from the WNBA, make sure to leave a comment below and share this video. The only way things change is when fans make their voices heard loud and clear. The league needs to understand that we won't tolerate this kind of treatment of players who give everything for this sport. Sophie stood her ground that day. Now it's time for fans to stand with her.